In this video, we're going to be talking about kettlebell swings and low back pain and why some people may get low back pain from a kettlebell swing and what to do about it. Let's begin. Hey, what's up YouTube? It's Coach Remi here. As you can see, I'm in the new gym today, Limitless Training Center, and this is where I'm going to be shooting my YouTube videos from now on going forward as it relates to exercise. So today we're going to be covering the kettlebell swing and low back pain, and I'm going to be sharing with you a few things that you should know as to why the kettlebell swing may cause someone low back pain and how to correct that, or at least how to prevent back pain from developing during the kettlebell swing. So to begin, the kettlebell swing incorporates a hip hinge. So a regression to the kettlebell swing would be a standard kettlebell deadlift, which incorporates a hip hinge. Now with the swing, just to kind of explain the basic concepts here, I like to coach it with the kettlebell a little bit out in front on the first rep. So I'm going to hinge back at my hips here, neutral spine, head to hips. And now I'm going to grab the swing here, reach out with it, pull my shoulder blades back and down, core tight, and then I'm going to pull the kettlebell back while pulling my hips forward. And that's what a normal swing would look like. Now, two things to consider here. Number one, for someone that's flexion intolerant, just getting into the position of a hinge and then reaching down for the kettlebell can provoke back pain in somebody. And right there, if it does provoke somebody's back pain, then this would be an indication that this exercise is not going to be appropriate for this individual at this time. And we want to build up on that hip hinge first, just with a standard kind of body weight hinge. Or we would maybe want to focus on just winding down their symptoms first till they can, to the point where they can perform a hinge pain-free. Once they then can perform the hinge pain-free, we would maybe go and start them with a kettlebell deadlift, which just involves hinging back and then pulling the hips forward. Once they can then do a kettlebell deadlift, we can then perhaps progress to a swing. Now that is the first indication for someone that's flexion intolerant. It just has to do with the motion of the hinge and being in that flexed position. Now there's a second consideration though. What you'll see is that if someone maybe has some instability in their low back, maybe it's from a disc bulge, maybe spondylolisthesis, they can perhaps get a sharp pain when they swing at the top here. So when you get the kettlebell up to about shoulder height, there's a lot of shear force on the low back when you get to here. So when you think of the lever from here to here, there's a lot of force being placed on the low back, especially as you increase the load. And if someone doesn't have proper stability at their low back or has some micro movements, there could be a sharp pain that can occur or come along when they raise the kettlebell on front. So in that case, the kettlebell swing, what we'd want to do is to make sure that we reduce those micro movements. Maybe we build up their core through the McGill Big Three, Bird Dog, Side Plank, McGill Crunch, and other core exercises before we actually perform the swing, or we just reduce the range of motion. So when we do the swing, maybe we just come below shoulder height to reduce a little bit of the shear loading, and maybe that's tolerable for the individual. But we have to be very considerate with that, and we'd be very careful with that. Sometimes people may be able to perform the swing no problem and get to shoulder height or maybe even higher, but we also have to consider programming considerations. This is where a lot of people get into trouble. So kettlebell swings, common exercise that you'll see performed in maybe a group scenario, a class scenario, where there's high levels of fatigue arising, low rest periods. Kettlebell swing it involves a hip hinge, it can be a very dangerous exercise if you're not performing it properly, especially as you start to break down in terms of, if you start to fatigue and get tired, your form may start to deteriorate and you may not be engaging your glutes or core as you should be, and that may place more loading onto some of the passive restraints and perhaps create back pain. So I typically like to use the swing in terms of using it as maybe a power exercise, developing a little bit of power through the hips. So one example maybe, as we progress with this, we incorporate some power breaths. So And maybe I'll have them perform maybe 10 to 12 reps or maybe perform it for 20 seconds, but then we're incorporating a rest break that is sufficient enough where they can perform that at a high level again without breaking down in terms of their form or technique. So those are just a couple considerations with the kettlebell swing. Typically there's two reasons why someone may get back pain. One is because they're flexion intolerant. They just can't get into the position pain-free to set up, or they may have some shear instability or some painful micro movements to their back that when they raise that kettlebell up, that flares up their back and creates pain. Both considerations or both cases, we need to be very careful, and perhaps kettlebell swing is not going to be appropriate for that individual, and we need to then build up to it, use some regression exercise. Maybe it's a kettlebell deadlift, maybe it's just a standard hip hinge, depending on where the person's at, and maybe we have to work in some just standard core stability exercises and build up a foundation first before we can get to the swing comfortably. So just a few considerations with regards to the kettlebell swing. I hope this helps you out in terms of what to think about if you're someone that does have back pain during the kettlebell swing. If you have any questions about the kettlebell swing or low back pain, comment below. And just before we wrap up this video, I just wanted to mention that I recently put out a free ebook titled 7 Core Exercises That You Should Probably Be Doing to Prevent Low Back Pain. It's a jumpstart guide to get you going in the right direction to eliminating low back pain. And it gives you some direction of what exercises that you should probably be starting with if you're someone that is experiencing low back pain and is having difficulty getting out of it. Now, for this ebook, if you'd like it, just head over to my website. You'll see the opt-in. You'll just have to put your name and email address into the opt-in, and then you'll be able to download the ebook right away. There will also be a link in the description below that'll take you directly to my website with the free guide. So this is an ebook you're not going to want to miss out on. It's free, and I guarantee it'll help you out with your back pain. So with that being said, guys, that's a wrap for this video. And until next time, have a successful and productive day. Take care.